In Monday's video, I mentioned this thing about writing on days where you really don't feel like it. And that might seem strange to some people. Like, it might seem like to some people, if you don't feel like it, then just don't do it. Like, why would you force yourself to do that? Life is short. Why are you trying to force yourself to do things that you don't want to do? And I think with writing specifically, and it's probably true for a lot of other disciplines as well, your brain, because it's hard, because writing's hard, your brain will, or at least my brain tries to talk me out of it, right? It tries to tell me that it's something that I don't want to do, or that it's hard, or that you don't feel like it, or that you're really bad, and you're really rubbish at it, so why are you doing it in the first place? And so you're constantly in this sort of battle with your own mind. And I have a feeling that a lot of us share that, and so I do think being able to turn up and put in the work even when you don't feel like it is a skill that we sort of all need. So I thought today I'd go through some of the ways in which I help myself with that problem, or some of the ways I've done it historically, and maybe you could share some tips of your own in the comments, and we could sort of help each other out that way. So that's what today's video is going to be about. Just before we get started, if you are a writer, if you're considering becoming a writer, if it's something that interests you, consider hitting the subscribe button. I make videos Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays every week, and they are tailored just for you. So do consider subscribing, and let's get into the video. Okay, so the first thing that really helps me combat this, and it worked wonders last month specifically, is setting yourself very simple, manageable goals. I've had times in the past where I've had word count goals. It's the reason I've always failed at NaNoWriMo. If you don't know what that is, it's National Novel Writing Month. And it's where you attempt to write about 2,000 words every day, so at the end of the month you have the first draft of a novel. With word count goals, it just feels mammoth, especially that's such a big goal as well. And I'm always put off by them, and then if I don't hit them, I get disheartened. And I think, what's the point? And I think to myself, oh, I only did 1,000 today, I'll do 3,000 tomorrow, and it gets out of control really quickly. So I am not setting word count goals anymore, and one of the things I'm getting myself to do is just to turn up and write something every day. The idea is that I can tell myself that all you have to do is write a sentence, right? And a sentence is super easy. But of course, when you're at the computer, you're at the word processor, you write one sentence, of course you're gonna write two, of course you're gonna write three, you'll probably write a paragraph, you'll probably do more than that. So it's a way of kind of tricking yourself, I guess, into just doing something and giving yourself permission to not do that much. And that really helps get me going and just getting me in front of the computer when I really don't want to be. Last month, for example, I wrote every day, and it's probably the first time I've ever done that for a month. And some days, the lowest day was only 118 words, and the highest day was like 1,700 and something, when I was feeling really into it and really inspired. And the truth is, you are going to feel different every day. But I think if you give yourself permission to just do something, you just create a lower barrier to entry for yourself, and I think that makes things much easier. At least it really helps me. The second thing is just embracing that first drafts are terrible, and they're always going to be terrible, and they have been terrible for all of the best writers throughout history, maybe, or at least many of them. Some people write a closer first draft to done than others, but most people, the first draft is a mess, it's a shit show, it's just about getting words down on the page. And I just think it's so important to acknowledge, because one of the things that stops you is this feeling that you're terrible and that this is a waste of time, right? You're putting these words down, you're trying to tell a story, you're kind of disheartened by it because you just have this sense that it's not very good. And I think just accepting and knowing and even expecting that it won't be good, if you can get yourself in that mindset, if you can get yourself on that page, so to speak, you're just going to have a much easier time of it. And I think it just comes from writing a lot and the experience of it as well. I've written some absolutely stinker first drafts that are basically just stream of consciousness, and not very insightful stream of consciousness at that. And I found the story in the edits, in the drafts. I can think of just some stories off the top of my head that barely even resemble where they started, but they needed that foundation first in order to make them into what they are now. I sort of think of it like the first draft is just, blunt instrument chopping down a tree. You just take an axe and you just chopping down a tree, and it's not pretty, but you get the job done. And then the second and third and subsequent drafts, you got your whittler's knife out, you're carving into it, and at the end, it's a beautiful spoon. The point is that the finesse, the details, the care, that can come later. But if you give yourself permission to be really, really terrible, then that can really help you turn up on days when you don't feel like it. The third thing I just wanted to share is not something I do anymore, but it's something that philosophically I think resonates with me, and it's something I've done in the past. The advice comes rather inconveniently from Neil Gaiman, who obviously we've sort of found out recently is probably a really terrible person. However, this advice is still good, so it's worth sharing. And the thing here is the ability to give yourself permission not to write. So it's basically giving yourself a choice between writing and not writing, but nothing else. So it sort of goes like this. Your options are, you can sit at your notebook or at your computer and you can write, or you can absolutely not write, but you can't do anything else other than not writing. You can't check your phone, you can't doodle, you can't check your emails or read a book or anything like that. You just have to sit in that nothing. You can look out the window and maybe see what's out there, but you set aside some time, half an hour, and you either write or you do absolutely nothing. And the idea is that pretty soon, writing becomes preferable to that doing nothing. And I found that that's pretty good. You have to be strict with yourself, and you have to make sure that you don't absent-mindedly pick up your phone and start scrolling. But I think psychologically, again, it's an easy barrier to entry for yourself, right? You're saying, oh, I can not write, I can sit here and do nothing. That's part of it. That's part of the deal that I've made with myself. So, your mileage may vary on that one, but that's helped me in the past. There might be some people out there just thinking, what are you talking about? Like, what is all this nonsense about playing tricks on yourself and convincing yourself to do things? Like, don't you just do it? There might be some people out there that have this magical, elusive thing called, discipline, I guess. Or I guess, we can all show discipline, but for some people it comes very, very easily. I'd like to know if any of you watching this video are like that, because I'm certainly not. I'm constantly in the business of making, little deals with myself in order to get myself to do things, which, I've kind of grown used to now, and I don't think I'm a weirdo in this. I feel like other people do it as well. So just let me know. Let me know in the comments. Maybe make me feel at ease if these kind of tricks you employ on yourself as well, or if it's just like no issue for you. Or most importantly, if you've got any tips that I maybe haven't thought about in this video, then they'd be great to hear as well. So thanks a lot. As I say, do consider subscribing if you like this video, and join me on Friday for the next one.